Ronald J. Riederich, EN3 SS, Engineman 3rd Class Submarine Service. Coast Guard Reserve, let's see, I got employed on the railroad. With my submarine experience and diesel engines. It was a commuter railroad in Long Island, but we hauled freight also, and that's what got me the job. Then I had a son, born in 1981, and I thought to myself, well, I don't know how this railroad thing is going to work out. And my father was a Coast Guardman, and I liked the small boats too, and I've been boating all my life. And I thought I could add to it with my experience also, but there was a security thing where I thought, well, if I don't like this, I was in the Coast Guard Reserve. If I didn't like railroading, I could just go active, and I'm back on the boats again. And I think that was my thinking at the time. That was interesting stuff too. Search and rescue, go out and save people. It seems like a big thing for an observer. Oh, how could you do that? But to me, it was really nothing because I was familiar with all that stuff. I wasn't afraid of the ocean and respected it, but it was no big deal. Again, you know your equipment, you know your crew. You know your men, and you do your job. You can do your job under those kind of circumstances. And I joined the Coast Guard Reserve for about a decade after on Long Island, and served out there in search and rescue for 5 years. It was a small boat station, wasn't a ship. I was the engineman. Lead engineer. So we go out on these, we go out area familiarization, but we'd also go out and rescue people. And my job was to keep those 2 diesel engines operating, and that's what I did. Plus some other ancillary duties, just generally helping the crew get the mission done with your seamanship, and that was the first 5 years of that Coast Guard experience, and I enjoyed that also. I wanted to go out to the Columbia River. These motor lifeboats, they train that you can roll them over in the surf and they'll right themselves, and I thought that looks like a lot of fun. But I was getting, I wasn't a teenager or a 20-year-old anymore, so I ended up not doing that. And we had weapons training once or twice a year, and the small arms training team was up and asked me if I wanted to join them. And it was time for a change, so I did that and got attached to intelligence at Governor's Island. And that was interesting. We did security for Reagan, Bush, and Gorbachev. I thought that was interesting when they met at the United Nations, and it was all very interesting. I was part of the security detail for that. And one day I was driving around the car on the island, checking everything out, making sure everything was okay. And the next day I was in the East River on a patrol boat guarding the UN while they were up there talking things over. Secret Service liaison, because the Secret Service was on board. Interesting stuff. That's what I like, interesting things. And well, that was, I guess, the end of my military career at that point. After Reagan got out of office, our budgets were cut so bad, and you couldn't make rate. They didn't have the money to pay you, and it was time to go, move on. All in all, a good experience.